This is Harvey Burnett, and I'd like to welcome you to the final edition of our healthcare planning seminar. That's healthcare planning, not just for the elderly. Now, I don't know what uh, age, I'm going to leave that up to you to decide what elderly is. I'm not going to date anybody because in doing that, I guess I'll be dating myself. But healthcare planning, I guess a better title would be healthcare planning is good for anyone at any age. And we're talking about extended healthcare planning, of course. And so we want to thank you for joining us for this particular edition. We've got previous editions, tonight's broadcast, because we had to do something a little bit different. We had the meeting scheduled actually for this morning, but we had a few different conflicts, and so we had to work it out to try to get this done this evening. And I don't think that I'm going to deliver any new information, but I do have information that I feel that is pertinent to your situations as we've gone on through and people have heard the broadcast or either participated. They've asked quite a few different questions about different things. And if you have been on the broadcast before tonight, or if you hear this this evening, and you have additional questions, don't hesitate to type those into the chat box there on your screen, as well as email me at dunamis1@netzero.com, or you can call me at area code 309-648-5351. We're also doing a simulcast for a few minutes on Facebook Live as well. I'm trying to get the camera set. I don't have all these professional setups like some people have, but nevertheless, we have the camera set for our Facebook Live broadcast too. So it's a dual cast tonight. The Facebook Live broadcast will not get the streaming or the audio or the presentation, the visual presentation. And I'm not going to save the Facebook Live presentation to this, but I will indeed save the audio and video presentation portion to this particular meeting. And again, once again, I'm Harvey Burnett, the owner of Dunamis Insurance and Business Services. We are an insurance planning firm here in Illinois, and we proudly serve a very dignified clientele with our products and services through major corporations. Um, yeah, we'll. I can get information. Received a message on TRICARE. I can get information on TRICARE. Just let me know what you need regarding them, and I can certainly get the information for you. But nevertheless, we are an insurance planning firm, and we specialize in life, health, disability, long-term care, annuities, and retirement planning, estate planning, just generally what you need. Generally, we'll have it as it pertains to financial arrangements on insurance. Also, we specialize in probate avoidance, planning an estate to avoid probate. You want privacy in your estate and in your estate plans, and that's a very good and admirable thing to do, especially for your next of kin and for those of your survivors and further family. We offer dental and vision products, as well as we do business strategic planning so far as buy sell planning, loan guarantee planning. There's some people expanding their business and they need great amounts of insurance. And for anybody who's ever participated in that, you need life insurance specialists when you deal with tremendous or high amounts of insurance like that. And we handle those type of cases, and we have the top ranked, the best ranked companies that are available as a part of our resource list. In fact, I'm in the process of updating our cover page of our website to really kind of list probably about at least 7 to 10 of our companies that we have, so that you'll know who we're dealing with. So we deal with the majors and the major players, and we do all of that simply to help preserve, protect your financial future, and to help make sure that the companies that we provide will be around when you need them most and when we need to deal and do business with them. We also provide international travel for those of you who need to travel. You're going to foreign countries, or you have foreign individuals from foreign countries, whether they be missionaries or whatever, that's coming to the United States. They need foreign travel insurance. We have that type of insurance that will help that passes all visa standards and requirements that are necessary, as well as that will cover you outside of the United States. Many people don't know that health insurance generally will not cover you outside of the United States in these various venues. You have to buy an insurance for that. And there are some limited coverages available through some supplements, but not on a comprehensive basis. And there's all kinds of little caveats involved in that. So you need to be aware of that. At Dunamis, we specialize in those type of arrangements. So that's basically what we do. And I'm going to get to these questions here in a minute, but let me get into this presentation here, and please keep the questions coming. I'm going to try to find them. Some of these questions I'm not able to see. I know that if you type in the chat box, I should be able to see them, and we'll see here. In fact, yeah, okay, I see them now. So I'll get to those questions. Please type those into the chat box area, and I'll get to those as soon as we're finished with our primary presentation. All right. And with that said, let's go a little bit further. Well, healthcare planning is not just for the elderly. We want to really kind of bring this out because many individuals, and I was talking with an individual today about this particular subject, a lot of people don't understand that extended healthcare arrangements, many people think, oh, they're just for people over age 65. And the way the insurance and industry has sold these type of products before, you believe and that they're just for older individuals. 65 and over are those who are, becoming more sedentary in their lifestyle. However, the amazing fact is that people between the ages of 18 and 64, 43% of all long-term care is given to people in that particular age group or demographic. 43%, now get this, 43% of all extended health care delivered in the United States is given to people between the ages of 18 and 64. So that's pre-retirement age. People that are pre-retirement age are receiving a lion's share of extended health care based on chronic illness. So this is a very vital issue, and it's very important. How many people do you know that's in your age category, per se, that have suffered either stroke, heart attack, have a chronic illness that keeps them from doing, something significant, whether that's bathe, walk? I know individuals who, cannot walk. They have a kidney problem, and or whatever the case is. They've had various functions, and they can't walk. Okay, that's a chronic illness, and that's a chronic disability. Anything that keeps you from functioning in at least two of the seven ADLs, and we'll talk about that here. That is considered to be a chronic illness, and services by far and large, or by 43% anyway, are delivered to individuals between 18 and 64 who fit that criteria. They need care because they can't function. I've known school teachers, I've known pastors and ministers. I recently had a very good pastor friend of mine that had and suffered a major stroke. And unless God heals him and raises him up, which is not beyond the pale of possibilities, but unless that happens, he will never pastor again because right now he cannot feed himself, he cannot move for himself, he can't even speak. So many individuals don't think of what the devastating effect that will happen. Now, what I'm talking about tonight is not covered by your basic health insurance. It's not covered by your Medicare, Medicaid. We'll talk about that. Not covered by your basic and primary disability insurance. Not covered by most insurances that you can buy. The only type of insurance that will cover what I'm talking about tonight is insurance or arrangements specifically designed to address chronic illness. And so this is what I've come to deliver tonight. Really, we'll start with the presentation. For those of you who are online, we'll immediately get into our issues section. And we were challenged, to talk about what chronic illness and chronic and critical illness is, and really kind of to distinguish the difference. And really, in my mind, chronic illness really deals with the quality of your life. Critical illness is an illness from which there is it's a life-threatening condition such as stroke, cancer, heart attack, coronary artery disease. That's a critical illness. A chronic illness generally is something for which there is no cure, and that will gradually, whether it's immediately or gradually, lead to a lower quality of life. Your substantive life is changed or altered as a result. And so that's what we're talking about tonight. Now, many critical illnesses lead to chronic conditions. And so we need to be aware of that. And the presentation, as I'm pointing out here, we've got heart disease, stroke are still the number one causes, especially heart disease, the number one cause of death within the United States. Stroke is the number one cause of disability, long-term disability within the United States. And I believe the second leading cause, strokes are the second leading cause of death globally on a global scale or basis. So these conditions, and these are just a couple of conditions that are life altering, that change your life, but they're more common. And the reason I point these out is because, according to current studies, the CDC has put out a report, and in their report, they have noted over the last 2 to 3 years, there's been a higher incidence of stroke and heart disease, heart attack, that is occurring in all communities, but especially among the Black community within the United States. And as I've said before, those, the reason why is still out. They're trying to figure out whether it's lifestyle, diet related, whatever. I think many of us know, and many of people who I deal with are health conscious anyway. And a lot of things have to deal with your diet and your lifestyle as well. And so these things happen, but that is notable. And also, as we'll find out in the presentation, even though life expectancy has increased significantly over the last 10 to 20 years, still within over the last 2 years, life expectancy has actually been altered, and primarily due to drugs, this epidemic of methamphetamines and all of these drugs that are out in our society. And so that has been responsible for actually decreasing the life expectancy of individuals over the last couple of years. But still, even in that, life expectancy is dramatically higher than it was. So these illnesses are real. Chronic illness is real. According to a gentleman from Merck named Ken Frazier, the real cost of the healthcare system is dealing with chronic illness. And he was on CNBC in January 8th of 2018. The reason Mr. Frazier is so significant, he was a part of President Trump's healthcare planning team. He's the head of a major drug manufacturer, and but he left that team, but he is still one of the outspoken leaders in the healthcare industry. And many of the drugs that's being designed now are designed around, chronic conditions, to try to treat, cure, manage, mitigate chronic conditions. And but this has been recognized, this particular area has been recognized as where the money is going. If you look at all the pots of money in the healthcare industry to treat chronic illness and to manage and maintain, that is the majority of where the money is expended. Now, if that happens on a national basis, of course, yes, it happens with us individually as well. That is a very important part of where we're spending our resources to manage and take care of individuals. Chronic illness is the number one cost associated with healthcare. And if you look at it, somebody said, well, give us a definition. Well, the definition of chronic illness, or a person is considered to be chronically ill by governmental standards anyway, when they have lost either two of seven of the activities of daily living, that's the ADLs. So be familiar with that terminology, or they have been diagnosed with dementia or some type of illness to where their mind is affected and they either become a danger or a threat to themselves, and a danger or threat to themselves because of their mental condition or position. So in that case, forget the other ADLs. If a person is a threat mentally to themselves or others, they're considered to be chronically ill. And under most situations and circumstances. And certainly Alzheimer's would qualify for a immediate chronic illness. But normally under normal circumstances, so far as physically, if a person cannot eat, bathe, transfer, they're incontinent, they cannot ambulate or move, or they can't dress themselves, they're considered to be a chronically ill person. So this, insofar as the insurance industry is concerned, is what's called the benefit trigger. When a person is diagnosed as being chronically ill, they may feel bad and all that type of stuff, but if they can still do all of these things and their mind is not affected, they are still not chronically ill, and the benefit trigger has not happened yet. So far as insurance is concerned, when a person cannot do these particular things, these seven ADLs, or the one being dementia, when as long as they are not affected, they are not considered to be, from an insurance standpoint, chronically ill. Now, they may have a chronic disease or illness that they may be treating that is continually getting worse, but until they reach this particular point, then the insurance will basically just say, okay, we won't even kick in yet until there is a chronic situation where there is a chronic illness that occurs. Okay, so that's basically what happens. But when we look at it, we got to ask ourselves, you know, we may need medications prior to that, but you need care when there is a chronic illness. The question that we want to ask tonight is, where is that care coming from, and where is the money associated with that care coming from? For those of you who are following me along online on the presentation, we've talked about the longer life prospect. It's good that people are living longer. Since 1980, life expectancy is up both for men and women to the 6 and 7% range, and that's good. Men now live, according to government statistics that are kept, men can live up to 76 and a third years old now. Women 81.1% or 81.1 years of age, and hopefully you'll live much longer than that. But living longer is only part of the situation, or part of the question. It's the quality of life that one lives that's very important and vital to address. The families and those individuals who are what I want to say, loving, or the remaining family, is very important that they have some options on how to take care of their loved ones. And so this is very important here, that we have not only time, but we have money as well available. So the question is, where will both of those things come from if there is an extended or a chronic illness? Well, because women live longer, more than likely it is said and projected by the insurance industry that women will actually need chronic illness. They will need dollars for chronic illness care per capita more than men will. In fact, 70% of individuals and 79% of women over the age of 65 will require some form of long-term care services during their lifetimes. And over 40% will need care in a nursing home for some period of time. And usually nursing home stays are preceded by at-home stays. And the government is very limited on how they allow you to stay, at home, and what they'll pay for. There are exceptions to everything, but those exceptions are by and far not normal. They are, like I said, exceptions, and you have to jump through hoops sometime to get these exceptions. And I'll kind of explain that as we go. So the likelihood of extended healthcare services exists among women on a greater basis than they even exist among men from actuarial standards. So where will the money come from is the next question. Since most people that are earning $50,000 a year, which is an excellent living, most people will only amass about $63,000 in savings, earning about 50 grand a year. Now, on average, that's what individuals have. According to Fidelity, in 2016, the average 401k balance was about $92,500. Now, if we look at actually is what has happened over the last couple of days, the stock market has actually dropped about 1,500 points over the last 3 days sessions. And for a long-term investor, that's not, really an issue. Somebody who has quite a bit of time in the market, that's not really a problem, especially if their money is diversified and spread out correctly. However, for individuals who are only have a short term in the market and who are in certain things that have been previously making money but now are problematic, how many cycles do you have to regain, especially when the market is down for the whole year? And I've had clients that have had money in the 401k. They've been wealthy one day or one week, and then the next day or the next week, overnight, those funds have gone and vanished. I had one gentleman that was getting ready to purchase a home and was going to use some of those 401k funds to help him with the down payment of that purchase. Friday night, it was okay, but by Tuesday or Wednesday of the next week, when he needed the money, there was no money there to get. And so these things happen. So the average balance, even on a good day, the average balance of 401k for most individuals, and this the average median in the United States, is about 92.5. But according to the National Care Planning Council, the average nursing home stay, listen to this, is about 167 to 170,000 dollars for a person to be in a nursing home. That's based on an 835-day normal or average stay within the home at about a $200 a day rate, which in Illinois is about the average. Now, costs for care and different types of care we'll go into here, but it's very important that we understand that extended healthcare costs significant dollars. And so if you are, just on average, you have about 90 grand in your 401k, that's not even going to pay for extended full-time extended care coverage just by itself. And then secondly, according if you have no additional insurance and you want the state or government to help you, as we'll discover, you're going to have to spend that money first anyway, or fork that over to them so it can be spent, because you'll have to go through spend down. As you can see, there's a financial cost to all of this. Then this is what we are talking about. The problem with government intervention is spend down. Now, many individuals don't understand that Medicare or don't understand the relationship to their finances to government assistance and social insurance programs. But let me just give you a brief overview. There's a thing called Medicare Part A and B that generally kicks in when a person is age 65, and you pay a cost. And basically, that is supposed to be your supplemental or long-term type of healthcare plan that you'll have during retirement, because most individual plans will not cover you beyond that. If you work for a corporation or you're on corporate or healthcare roles, you can keep your healthcare coverage well beyond that. But generally speaking, the general population will not have individual healthcare coverage beyond that, and Medicare takes over. That's Medicare Part A and B. However, and you can also receive Medicare Part A and B if you are on SSI. This is prior to age 65. If you're on SSI for at least 2 years. So, like, as I said, there's exceptions to many different things, and that's one of the exceptions to being able to qualify for Medicare Part A and B. Medicare provides in its whole, in the sum of Medicare, provides for part-time, intermittent, uh, permanent or full-time extended health care. Let me say it like that. Part-time intermittent extended health care. It doesn't provide for full time, static extended health care, no matter what you have, Medicare Part A, B, or any supplements. And everybody's on the TV advertising the supplement Part D and different things like that. Well, Medicare Part D does not provide you extended health care or anything like that. No matter how the drugs are paid for, that's not extended health care that we're talking about tonight. Medicare supplements don't fill the gap. Part A through F, G, whatever you have, that doesn't fill the gap. It doesn't provide extended or ongoing full time permanent health care either. Then there's another system administered by the state called Medicaid. Most states have Medicaid, but Medicaid is for the poor and disadvantaged. In order to qualify for Medicaid, a person has to do what's called spend down their assets. And when you spend down your assets, you have to get rid of things like the majority of your cash. You can only keep about $2,000 worth of cash, a primary residence, and a modest vehicle. And when I say that, you can't have a Bentley and be on Medicare. That's going to be challenged. So that's not going to work. But short of the long, you're going to have a reasonable amount of assets, which includes $2,000 in cash as a limit, and they want to know everywhere your money is. It's very invasive. There's nothing private about it. It's something that many people want to avoid if they can, but as soon as you qualify and you ask for assistance from the state or government, you're going to have to answer those questions, and that's an invasive way to go through anything. So they're going to want to know where your assets are, who has them. Many individuals come up with the idea, well, let me transfer this money off to my children so that way, or I give stuff away so that way I really don't have them, but yet and still I'm going to use them. We've had some individuals that said, well, we're going to give our money to our daughter. She's not going to spend it, but I'm going to go to her whenever I need $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. But they'll just hold it. So they're like acting as your personal bank or your personal bank account. That is not a good transaction. If that is ever found and included, and all of that money or the value of those assets will be included in your estate, and the state will withhold, and there will be problems. So that's the number one way we do not recommend that anybody transfer assets that have significant cash assets that and they're planning for their extended health care. We advise you to use items such as trusts, which we'll talk about here just briefly, as well as insure that particular obligation through insurance, as we will discuss here. So spend down is a very important part of what's going on and what happens or when you go to seek social insurance. Now, so with that said, um, we look at other things. Those are the issues. Those are the things that we're facing. Here are some of the facts regarding these particular things. Medicare Part A will only cover 100 days of skilled nursing care, but that care must be received in a nursing home facility. Whenever the government is involved, they want you where they want you to be. There are, like I said, some exceptions, but those exceptions are limited. There are exceptions, and you can fill out some waiver. If your health will decrease in a particular facility, then there's an exception, but that form has to be documented, and that has to be, agreed upon by the doctor that moving this particular person will actually cause them a decrease or a problem in health. In other words, their health cannot be cared for in a nursing home as opposed to at home or in a skilled facility. And so, have fun with that one. But that's, exactly how they do that. A non-chronic skilled nursing home care must be preceded by a 3-day hospital stay. So you have to have a pretty serious condition to get treatment for a non-chronic condition or care. And this is where we want to make the transition into dealing with you and your family in particular. Because I don't know of anybody who's ever taken care of a loved one who would not, if the same circumstance came up, do it again. However, I do know that in every situation where you have next to family taking care of loved ones under these circumstances, it's the most probably one of the most stressful situations that a family can experience. Okay, and no matter who you are, no matter how many brothers and sisters people have, care tends to fall on one, maybe two of those individuals. Consistent care. So this is where the rubber meets the road at here. And not having prepared for these things really places a stress on individuals. Most people are taken care of by their family members, at least initially. So it's very important that family members are prepared. Most family member caregivers, over 66% of them, people are taken care of. They're taken 66% of the time by family members, and most of those family member caregivers are not paid. They're not compensated in any way. So that is another issue that's vitally important. That there's no compensation, no special arrangements for them. That's another level of stress on the family. Only 9% of individuals that care for their families or have caregivers are compensated in any way. Only 9%. So this is very important that we address the financial issues associated with these type of things. Okay, hold on just a second. Presentation's kind of messing up here. Very important that we uh, address these particular considerations as they come up. Let's look at the costs on a few popular arrangements. One, there's an assisted living facility. Assisted living facilities are very nice. They're sprawled out all over the country. Probably in your area, you can see an assisted living facility. Very nice looking places. The costs on those things are phenomenal. Assisted living facility in Illinois costs generally about $48,000 a year to be a part of. In 10 years, just 10 years, that cost is expected to go up to $64,000 a year. The individuals who have noted costs on this is Genworth. We proudly represent Genworth long-term care, Genworth life insurance as well for a number of years. And they're one of the companies that we use and refer to for long-term care insurance as well as life insurance. They started this particular survey in 2004 and all over the country through their resource of agents and just community interactions. And I tell you what, their prices have been on point. Since 2004, they have been accurate. They're predicting the cost of assisted living facility in Illinois. And you can look up your own area if you don't know where to start. Just give me a call, 309-648-5351, or email me at dunamis1@netzero.com, and we can go over the cost of facilities in your area. But they are predicting that the cost of a assisted living facility is going to be $64,992 per year, about $65,000 in just 10 years. Okay, just 10 years. That's expensive. Then let's take a look at another particular popular arrangement, home health aid. A lot of people say, well, I'll get a home health person to come in and help out if I ever need care like that, and they come in and see me, or they can stay on a full-time basis. Well, you can do that right now at a cost of about $51,000 a year, as is the state average annual cost for a full-time home health care aide to come in to take care of your loved one. Now, just think, this is a $51,000 paid person, but what about you as a family member when you do it? You'll receive no compensation. And if you take a dime, believe me, any family that knows it will give you the ringer for anything along those lines. So you definitely don't want to do that. But to have a person that comes in full time to take care of your loved one will cost about 51,000 a year. Well, that cost in 10 years is expected to be about $69,000 a year. And like I said, these estimates have been on point by Genworth. Let's look at the final thing, which is the cost of a nursing home or a nursing facility. And I don't even want to look at the private room cost, But just look at the semi-private room, what it costs annually for that. In 2018, which is dramatically different from the time just some years ago that I was looking even more intently at this. Nursing home costs. Nursing homes are very modern in cost, but now the cost of a nursing home on average in Illinois is $70,000 a year. That's about 71,000 actually. About $195 a day for care. And in the about 10 years, that cost is expected to be 95,000 or $262 per day. So that cost, as you can see, is very high, dramatic. Now reflect back at the things that we're talking about. If a person has about generally on average $100,000 in a 401k, how will they address that if they have to go through spend down? In other words, they're going to spend their money first, and still you'll still need ongoing care, and then you're going to be forced into a nursing home. I'm not an advocate of nursing home care. I have a list of nursing homes and the quality of care and their ratings. If you want to know that, again, contact my office or email me, and we can go over that information as well. Just about any place in the country that you're looking at, I can pull up the nursing home, and we can see how they're rated, from place to place. Uh, Not an advocate of nursing home. I'm an advocate of convalescing at home and being at your own environment, being around people that you love. You tend to fare better, and being in a place that you need to be. So these things happen, and these things are vitally real. Okay, let's look on a little bit further. All right. And for those of you who are watching by Facebook Live, my battery is going to go out on that in a minute. You can go out to our presentation, go to our Facebook page, and you can see the links to the online presentation, and you can go there when this goes out. All right. The next part, well, how do we solve this particular issue? I built up the case for the issue itself. Let's deal with problem solving now. Let's deal with solving the issue and making things right. Well, how do we want to do this, or what can we look at in order to address and solve the issue? Because we are problem solvers, we got to take a look at that. There's been some traditional ways to do it previously. One way has been through traditional long term care insurance. Long term care insurance has been the way that has been addressed in order to deal with extended healthcare issues traditionally. And there's a couple of other ways that people have used. Number one, they've self-insured themselves, as we've talked about today. Another way that they've done it is they've gone through a wait and see situation where, we won't say anything. We don't acknowledge it being there, therefore we don't say anything, and maybe it will go away. The problem won't be there. So those are the things, but there's problems with each one. We'll start to the right. To the right, when we wait and see, we'll still go through spin down, and now we have potential problems with family. Individuals don't know what to do. Care is never adequate. Somebody's complaining. There's always a problem when you look and when you do the wait and see. When you intend to self insure, you go through another problem. Okay, where will the funds come from that's going to self insure? Now, you'll need so much money to live off of in retirement, but then you'll need another amount of money just to pay your healthcare bills. And as we can see, just the healthcare itself, just one portion of it could well exceed 170 to $200,000 just for that. And for those individuals who haven't, saved but that much in retirement, that means all of your money is gone just on extended health care if the worst possible scenario should arise. That leaves nothing to minister to or to take care of your family or to address issues associated with them that you'd like to see addressed. Traditional long-term care insurance has been the go-to for this type of thing, as I've stated before, but there's been a few issues that have arisen over that. The positive thing, and I'll start at the bottom of this list of things here on the left. The positive thing is that there's a tax deductibility associated with traditional long-term care insurance that is considered to be qualified long-term care insurance. Very important that that word qualify exists, because if it's not qualified, that means that it has not aligned with the government standards, regulations, and mandates to be considered traditional long term care insurance. But normally, if it is a qualified plan, you have premium tax deductibility, which is a good thing. Everybody likes a tax deduction up to certain limits. And you could check with your accountant or CPA to see what those limits would be in your situation. Probably some of the worst things about traditional long term care insurance, and again, I provided this for years to my clients, and they have good policies, but these are some of the things that I've seen: cost and the price. The cost of traditional long term care insurance can be hefty. You have to be at a particular place where you can afford to address the problem. And that's not uncommon that some problems go unaddressed because people can't afford to address them. Traditional long term care insurance has been somewhat hefty in price over the years. And that combined with the next thing down, which is the rate increases, can make it almost unattainable. Because every year, whether a person uses health long term care insurance or not, there is going to be a rate increase on the insurance, generally speaking. Some companies undershot. They didn't know or had not really prepared for the nearly 10,000 people per day that are turning age 65 right now in America, and the people that are living longer and needing more services. And they hadn't really adequately prepared for that. And they're having problems adjusting their rates to cover expenses and to make some profitability at the end of the day. And so rate increases are a very real part of long term care insurance. Then the worst part about long term care insurance is probably the use it or lose it part. That if you don't use the insurance, you actually end up losing the insurance, losing what you paid into it. So a person could live and not have any health problems, and they live for 20, 30 years, and they're insured, not have any health problems, and then they get to a point where, okay, I don't need it anymore, I want to quit paying, or they pass away. There's no benefit generally to the beneficiaries or no cash back to the estate. That is probably the worst part about long-term care insurance, traditionally speaking, and a part that people just, nobody really gets into it. I mean, I don't get into paying our, you know, car insurance or homeowners insurance if you're not going to get anything back. That's really not an exciting thing. That's a begrudging payment that you kind of make just to have the coverage. So that's what traditional long term care insurance is. And that's how traditionally people have addressed this particular issue. The extended health care is through traditional long term care insurance. However, what if there is another way to address it? If there is another way that I can get my money, where I can plan, that I can have price stability, why wouldn't I do it? Well, that's what we want to talk about tonight. And that's why I'm excited to share this with you, because there is another way to do it. And that other way centers around is what is called chronic illness life. Now, this is life insurance that has a chronic illness rider built in, and we'll talk about that. And I've summed it up by calling it chronic illness life. Chronic illness life provides some benefits, as we can see here. Number one, price stability. Life insurance is generally set up that the price generally doesn't increase, especially permanent life insurance. Term life insurance, some people buy term that changes every 5 years. In fact, AARP has a life insurance particular program that every 5 years that premium goes up. Starts off the term through New York Life, which is one of the companies I used to work for, and it expires at age 80. By age 80, you can't have it past age 80. So either way, you got to convert that thing over or something, and then the price will be way up by that time. But generally speaking, when you buy a permanent insurance plan, the price is generally stable for life. It'll stay the same. Benefits will stay the same. So you have what Alex Trebek calls a rate lock. He says price, price, and price. Well, that what his insurance there is interesting. And if you think about doing what Alex Trebek is doing, you need to call me first, and we can go over the reasons why on that. But short of the long is chronic illness life has price stability. So Whatever the premium is, it is, and it does not change. It does not increase, does not decrease. Those premiums are the same. So it gives you something that you can rely on. Death benefits are involved in chronic illness life as well. This means that if there's a death that happens while this policy is in effect, there's a death benefit that's paid out. Now, depending upon, and there's only a handful of companies that do this, and it depends upon which company that you use. Yeah, that's right. Out of all the thousands of companies in the United States, there's only a handful of companies that do it, and only a handful that do it right. And you know why? Because this is a long-term type of arrangement, and only the financially strong can really stay in this market. So don't go to AYZ bid insurance company and think that you're getting a good deal because they have a chronic illness life plan and nobody's ever heard of them and their balance sheet is shaky, and but they're giving you this good price because they may not be there to cover that obligation. I can't speak for them, but I can speak for the majors that I offer, and that's all we offer at Dunamis is majors to cover these particular type of illnesses and arrangements. Your future is too important to fool around with some rinky-dink company someplace. These particular companies under the chronic illness life offers death benefit in return for a death, a qualifying death. Some companies, as I was saying, have different arrangements. Some use a second to die policy, some use an individual policy, whatever the case is. But there are normally death benefits associated with this. If a person dies, there's going to be a death benefit payment to the beneficiary in exchange for that policy. That policy will close out as a result of that death because the person won't need any long-term care benefits at that particular time. So it becomes, by virtue of itself, by virtue of the nature of itself, a multi-use policy or a policy that goes from being used for life insurance to being used for whatever else. You know, just as times roll and as individuals get sick, it's a flexible type policy, multi-use. Cash return is in the policy because it's a permanent plan. There is cash back available, which makes the net cost over time very low. And sometimes, in some cases, depending upon when you buy it, may even have a zero net premium effect. And we can show you all that when we kind of pull these illustrations together and show you the guaranteed projections, because we only deal with guaranteed numbers. We don't deal with really those projected or inflated numbers. Then there's two ways that you can receive or tap into the policy. That's either by reimbursement or by cash benefits. And like I said, different companies offer different arrangements, and their whole premium structure is based on these arrangements. So it's very important that you sit with us and we go over which method or approach is best for you and your family. But a reimbursement arrangement, basically, you'll need an invoice to tap into those monthly benefits. And those monthly benefits are generally capped at about 4% to 5% of the policy face amount. So for $127,000, you'll generally be looking at about a $5,000 monthly threshold or benefit amount that you can tap into. I think my math is right on that. I might not be. But generally speaking, that's how this particular policy works. So you can give them an invoice for as much, many bills as you have up until that particular dollar amount per month. And that thing rolls over to a maximum benefit per year in a $5,000 range of what about $60,000 a year or so. Or you can have a cash benefit policy. The cash benefit policy will basically do the same thing. We're going to calculate whatever percentage of the death amount or the death benefit, and that's how much is going to be available for you as a cash benefit. You just tell us, do you want us to send you the check, and we'll just send it out automatically. And you can use it as you want. So that's a cash benefit policy. And so that's one type of arrangement. And again, not every company does it. But we have the ones and have relationships with the ones who do. So uh, tax advantages are that the uh, benefits are tax free. The death benefit payments are tax free. The monthly benefit payments are tax free. Even if you're receiving cash benefits, those are tax free income arrangements to be used as you deem fit. What does it do by virtue of having this particular policy? Immediately, you relieve family pressure. pressure is taken off of your loved ones. They don't have to guess or wonder about where the money is, wonder about are they going to be treated fairly or have enough resources to take care of you, or you don't have to worry about having enough resources to take care of your next of kin and those whom you love as well. Because some situations, that's what we're dealing with here, is you're doing some research for your family and you're trying to make sure that you have the right plan in place to address their needs as well, because you know that that is going to fall on you at the end of the day. So, in researching this, there's ways to do it where there'll be no guessing, family pressure is relieved, and most of all, no state intervention. Don't have to worry about governmental spin down. There'll be no spin down. Spin down does not exist under these arrangements, and spin down doesn't happen at all under these type of arrangements, because you have money in place to pay for what you need without having to go through the government avenue and or channel to do it. So that's chronic illness life, and that's how it works, and works in favor of your particular situation. Now, let's do a little bit of review. The strategy is chronic illness life, and I call it chronic illness life plus. What is chronic illness life? As we review, it's a life insurance policy designed specifically designed with a chronic illness accelerated benefit rider. It's a life insurance policy. I want you to make note of that. As we look to traditional long-term care is basically a health insurance policy. This is a life insurance policy with a specially designed chronic illness accelerated benefit rider. The reason there's an advantage in just that, by being life insurance, is not health insurance. The underwriting for life insurance and health insurance is slightly but dramatically different. So there's an advantage of underwriting that you have through this particular type of arrangement or this approach that you do not receive under the traditional long term care insurance approach. Let's review a few of the advantages again. Life insurance and chronic illness benefits are normally received tax free. Insurance premiums are guaranteed to stay the same for life. No more rate increases, no policy annual increases or anything like that. And your premiums or your benefits still remain to be tax free. Additional advantages are benefit periods. And remember, I talked about the benefit trigger at the beginning, the two ADLs or the dementia. When that thing happens, that's the trigger. If your doctor says, well, you need full time care because you can't eat on your own or you can't transfer on your own, you need somebody there in your house to help you because you can't do two or more of those ADLs, and every doctor knows exactly what this means. But when you cannot do that, that's your benefit period trigger. That's when that thing happens. And you can have either a lifetime coverage from there on or a shortened benefit period. Some people only need to cover 2 years or 5 years. Now, I want you to know, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. I'll talk about the 5 year look back. But so there's benefit periods that can be designed within the plan to help address the needs that you have and to help cover you for as long as is necessary. So that way you're not covering yourself for longer than necessary, and you're not hedging that you need coverage for time, a shorter time than necessary. You know, you kind of tailor this thing to meet your needs. Okay. There are extended or additional benefits available. And an extended benefit works like this. If there's a basic benefit, let's say that that benefit lasts for 24 months. There could be a rider on top of that 24-month benefit period that says, okay, when those 24 months run out and you're still sick and in need, we're going to cover you another 24 months or another 36 months. That's called an extended benefit. Those can be built into the policy as well. It's like a fail safe. And so you can build that into the policy to cover you. This is something that you cannot really do under long-term care, really at any cost. An extended benefit is generally not available. It is what it is, whether it's 5 year, 10 year to age 65, whatever benefit period. It is what it is, and it stops paying when it stops paying. Then there's the unrestricted cash benefit, as we talked about, or the reimbursement benefit option. And finally, there is the multiple funding options that are available. You can fund this particular policy in many different options or many different ways. The choice is yours. It's up to you how you fund it or how often that you fund it. So these are some of the arrangements that are available and the advantage of chronic illness life in addressing these. Now, there are limitations. There's age limitations, as with every particular situation, and as with every insurance. There's age limitations, and you just can't walk up and get it just because you think you've arrived on the scene and you want it. You have to qualify for it. So, for those of you who are healthy or you have parents who are healthy, I would suggest that you encourage them to enter into this to get something. Even if you can't get the full benefit that's available, having something is better than nothing. And being able to address this and have the capital to address what needs to be addressed in the whole panoply of things that need to be addressed is vitally important and something that you want to be found doing. You don't want these things to catch you and you're not prepared to deal with them from a financial or a physical point of view. So, what's the next thing that you can do to begin to prepare for that? Well, you can pick up the phone, you can give me a call. Because if you give me a call, that'll probably be one of the best calls that you'll make in addressing these particular areas and dealing with these issues as it pertains to your family. We'll have a free confidential consultation with you and or your loved ones to address these issues and to really kind of set up a game plan or an action plan to help your family continue to be successful. So many times we've seen individuals, especially, within ministry, pastoral ministry, for those of you who are pastors and ministers out there, listen, I know the reality and the possibility that you can minister to everybody else and help everybody else's household. Then at the end of the day, your household is in disarray because you haven't got things financially established the way that you would like them to be, and your wife, your children end up suffering, your family's in confusion and disarray as a result of you not being consistent in dealing with these particular issues from your standpoint, or the dealing with the things that you need to deal with. It's very possible. We've seen it happen. We've seen individuals fly around the country, go from pillar to post, doing various things in the name of the Lord. And at the end of the day, when something happened, they did not have their assets and their business arrangements together because they were macro focused instead of micro focusing on these particular issues. 66% of pastors don't have, contrary to what you see on TV, 66% of pastors don't have benefit packages from the church. And less than that, I'd say less than 5% have anything that approaches this. We're talking about ongoing healthcare arrangements or ongoing arrangements to address the quality of life issues that come up due to health or what I want to say, debilitating illness, and especially in this case, as we're looking at chronic illness. Most individuals don't have that. If you are in a church, you have a pastor, and you are part of a decision-making team, and even if you're not a part of a decision-making team, you should bring this up to your decision-making team as it pertains to your pastoral benefit package and tell them to talk to Pastor Burnett, because he's not only a pastor, but he has dealt with this in pastoral benefits for over 20 years, and he knows what's necessary in this particular area. So I would advise you, pick up the phone, give us a call at 309-648-5351. Either that or email me at dunamis1@netzero.com. That's dunamis1@netzero.com. Now I'm going to get into a few of the questions that we had out there. In fact, I'll open this up for you to give us some, give me some feedback for those of you who are on our um, online presentation. And thank you for joining us again. But I want to take the time to deal with some of your questions right now. All right. Okay. Information on TRICARE. I will get some information on TRICARE, and I'll post that information for our audience to read on our Facebook website. So, TRICARE information, I will gain that for you. All right. Um, Now, the next question is, what would I recommend for someone who has a paid up life insurance with a small loan balance? Um, Number one, if you have a paid up life insurance, that is a very good thing. Most people, even though life insurance arrangements or a permanent life insurance arrangement, whole life insurance arrangements can be paid up. That means to bring individuals up to speed. That means that you have insurance in force or in place, but there is no payment made for it, and it just stays out there for life, and that's good. And you said, what recommendations for someone who has a paid up life insurance with a small loan balance? Well, probably the first thing I would do is probably just say pay off that loan balance. No need in having that out there. And plus, it's paying yourself back, gives you that much more capital to use in the future if you need it. But depending upon it, you could integrate that with a policy such as this, in that you would not get rid of that policy, but you could actually insure yourself. If you know what you do is you go through the calculation. You say, okay, I want my benefit amount to be X amount per day, or X amount per month. And we stick with $200. We know that's going to create about $5,000 a month in income, or $5,000 a month in benefits at $200 a day. And you know that you'll need a policy of what, about $125,000 or so in order to get to that particular amount. Just over a 60-month period, or even for 2 years worth of benefits to get there. So instead, in this particular case, if you have a $25,000 policy that's paid up, generally you could integrate that policy, especially if you have free cash values that you can get to, and assuming that those cash values would increase, you can get to those cash values and use that as well, in addition to the particular policy that you buy, that's a chronic illness life policy. This provides a level of cost control in that you're not buying, all of the insurance at the current rate. You're just buying part of your insurance. In other words, you're what's called mingling those policies together to produce the plan that you need. Even though one doesn't have a chronic illness benefit, the old policy that you had, it doesn't know anything about chronic illness. It still has an untapped cash value, and that cash value normally, if it continues to grow, and again, you'd have to analyze that out. That cash value could supplement what the primary policy, the chronic illness life policy, would do or could do for you as well. So you have to kind of govern it like that. You'd have to kind of look at it and analyze that thing out and see what the advantages or disadvantages would be. I wouldn't recommend replacing a paid up policy and getting a new bill. I think that would be the worst thing to do, is to get a new bill on that particular portion. But there are all kinds of arrangements. Now, one question said, well, what um, if the cash value is exhausted, wouldn't it cancel the policy? Yes, yes. Cash value, if you take the cash value out of the policy, you have a certain amount that you can take up into a particular limit. And if you take that particular cash value out beyond that limit, then the policy would cancel. So that's why that approach would take some careful analysis first before you go any place or do anything with that. You'd have to, if you're going to use the existing policy that you have and it's paid off, um, you'd have to have some analysis first. We may even recommend, okay, you just keep that policy in force and purchase the full amount of what you need in a secondary policy if you can get that secondary policy. And that's the key, is that sometimes an individual is beyond the age of, or beyond the time of insurability. They cannot get insurability or cannot qualify for insurability on a new plan, no matter what the benefit is. So you got to be careful in planning and kind of coordinate that thing out and work with what you currently have in order to make that a successful type of arrangement. So you look at those things. For those of you who wanted to use a trust in this particular type of arrangement, and the reason that you would do that is something that I hadn't alluded to up until this particular point, is because of the 5-year look back period. If you want governmental assistance in helping to take care of your long-term care needs or your extended health care needs, they have a 5-year look back. And this is what I was talking about earlier, when some people try to dump assets off on their families. Well, if you do that within a 5-year period of time, that you request benefits from them, they're going to look back at your assets and see, okay, where's the money gone? What assets have you dumped? And what recoupment that they can get out of that. So a 5-year look back period, that's something that the government does independently. Nothing you can do to avoid it. Once you've asked them to intervene, they're going to ask where your assets are and who you gave them to and all that type of stuff. And if you have dumped assets with the intention, giving those assets to individuals with the intention of being able to grab or reach those assets again, then that's not considered to be that's not considered to be not a part of you or out of your estate. It's not considered to be out of your estate. It's still a part of you. In other words, you give these assets, you have $50,000, you give that to your niece. And you tell your niece, okay, now you hold on to this and you're going to make your niece a safe house for you. That's basically what you're doing. And you're going to make your niece a safe house for you. And you say, okay, I'll come back whenever I need 10,000 or whenever I need 5,000 to get it from you. You just have it available. Then you really have not given up the asset. You're just making her a bank. And in that particular case, by making her a bank, you have run amok. If you do qualify or ask for government assistance, you have run amok of that qualification standard, and that asset will come back, and it will be nightmare for you as well as your niece from that particular point on. You don't want to create that. One of the best things to do is to arrange a irrevocable trust. Whether you have a living trust or not, that's an issue for you and your attorney to decide. But for whatever function or for whatever type of trust you want to use something that's called irrevocable. That means it's something that you cannot revoke. Now, immediately, if it's your assets, I know you want to hold those things until the day that you die. However, in order to do this type of planning, you're planning to live. Remember, you're not planning to die, even though death is an element in there. But if you want to do that, you have to set it up on an irrevocable basis. That means that once that money goes out into that trust with a named trustee who is not you, but with a named trustee that the trust now controls that asset and has it. Now, there may be clauses or provisions in there where that trust can take care of you. Those are things that you need to address, like I said, with your attorney, not with me. I'm not an attorney. And so you have to address those things with your attorney. There may be clauses in there that that will benefit you as the donor of the particular trust. However, that trust must be irrevocable in order for this to work. And once those assets are transferred, if you combine that with 5 years worth of insurance payments from the date of transfer to the date that state intervention is needed, that will satisfy the 5-year look back rule. Now I know some people, oh, is that bona fide? Yes, it's bona fide. That happens every day. This is how the wealthier continue and maintain their wealth, while those of us who are not continue to struggle to get there. And so this is just exactly what happens. And many individuals were really upset and irate at President Trump when it came out about some of the they call it the tax schemes that he used. Well, there was not one person that was reporting that was not seeking any of those tax schemes that he was doing, because those schemes that he used were bona fide schemes. They were bona fide ways to protect your estate, protect assets, to shield income, all of these type of things. These are things that are found within law. They're bona fide practices, no falsity or falsehoods there. You can question other things, but you can't question those things. And so the use of insurance as well as legal positions is a bona fide way to deal with and arrange every estate. And I recommend that you have the very best attorney that you can afford, and we'll take the lead in providing the plans and get somebody who will work with somebody. Now you can keep some of these loudmouths out of the way, because some of them, they like fees, but they don't like doing the work. But and you find that in the insurance industry as well. So I'm not picking on any profession, but short of the long, you need to know how to arrange those particular type of things. One more word too before we go. AARP is currently promoting. Now, first of all, they don't have a long-term care program. Many people ask me that. Does AARP have a long-term care type program? No, they don't. And they can recommend things, and they recommend that individuals do pursue and obtain long-term care. But they are currently recommending and supporting what's called the ELECT Act, I know in Illinois, which would allow individuals that are working full time, that have relatives and family members that need to be taken care of, preferably parents that need to be taken care of, will allow them paid time off of the work. Because right now, under law, you can't take your comp days or whatever and use them um, you know, for other family members. Or you can't request comp days or paid sick time or paid leave days for different things. People do what they want to do with days, but the Act would allow individuals to be able to take days off, whatever limitations there are. I'm not sure at this particular point, but be able to take paid time off of their work and care for loved ones, because this is an area that is vitally important and is to the benefit of families and individuals and workers and employees and employers to have a workforce that can, maintain the health of their families and different things like that. So if you're a business owner, you really need to call us as well, because we need to look at expanding your benefit programs to include potentially care or extended care giving services or extended caregiving benefits for your employees. That's a benefit that will attract many individuals if you're looking for, especially individuals that have a mature workforce. There's some individuals, some workforces that are, just out of college, and they're not thinking about these type of things. But then, as they go and as parents begin to age, as life begins to settle in, you start thinking about things a little bit differently. And for the mature workforce, or for an individual that is concerned about the health and the welfare of their family as well as themselves in relationship to their own kids, this becomes a very attractive benefit that just may help you get the right employee, land the right employee, and take your business to a new stratosphere based on that focus, or this particular benefit that is extended, that very few corporations extend. So that is it in a nutshell. And that's a big nutshell. But I want to thank you for joining me in this particular seminar. Dunamis Insurance and Business Services is a insurance firm that is large enough to help you, but small enough to know you. And that's very important. When you pick up the phone, generally we'll know who you are. And I try my best to make good notations of what we've talked about. So that way we can pick up on business and take care of things. I had a client just this week I had talked to about a year ago doing something, and they called wanting to get it done. And a year later, I knew exactly what they wanted because we noted it, and we had them on tap, and we were going to stick with them for the long haul. We're going to move forward with recommendations. And so this is a very important. These are very important issues and items. We hope that you will continue to give them some consideration as you move forward in life. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Again, if you need to reach me, our phone number is 309-648-5351. Or you can call us or email us at Dunamis1, that's Dunamis 1 at netzero.com. Don't forget to go out and visit our website at imbkcac.wixsite.com/Dunamis Insurance, or check us out on Facebook at Dunamis Insurance. That's facebook.com/Dunamis Insurance. This is Harvey Burnett, and I thank you for joining us for this seminar. I have appreciated your comments. We're going to have some more seminars on some other complex issues as time goes by, and I look forward to doing those things too. We've got one coming up on some estate arrangement because we get, keep getting calls on estate arrangements and different things like that. And again, I'm not an attorney, but maybe, just maybe, I may have an attorney on a conference or a meeting with us that will be able to directly address some of your questions, and we can get some banter going that way as well. So stay tuned to Dunamis Insurance and Business Services, and until next time we talk, may heaven smile upon you, and don't forget us in your prayers, and we'll do the same for you. God bless you and have a good night.